Alrighty. So what we're going to cover today is we're actually going to do two different topics by vote of our two attendees today. We're going to do showing property, and then we're going to do writing offers, two basic foundational pieces. Let's start with showing houses. So this is assuming that you've done our LP Mama. So you have pre-qualified this person over the phone. You've gotten their pre-qualification letter or their proof of funds. You have sat down with them at some point, either right before the showings or at some time previously, and you've done a buyer consult with the clients. This day and age, we're doing a lot of Zoom and FaceTime and things like that. You already should know this person, and you should have consulted them pretty deeply in understanding what they want. That doesn't mean you're done, because sometimes they change their mind and sometimes they learn more as they keep going. But I'm assuming at the point that we get out and show property, you have a very good understanding of who you're with, what they're looking for, their budget, etc. So, those are the assumptions I'm making at this point. There's a quote in our buyer consult that has been probably one of the most powerful quotes that I've ever used. And that is, on average, buyers that work with me see an average of about 5 to 6 homes before they write an offer. And there's a reason that I say that. It's called future pacing. You want to create the picture of, if you guys have ever worked with a really detailed client, you have probably come across somebody who wants to see literally every listing, and they really struggle with making a decision. This is your chance to reassure that person and every other behavioral style and every other type of person that they actually do know more than they think they do. So after I say, on average, my average buyer sees 5 or 6 homes before writing an offer, I say, that might sound like only a few homes, but let me explain why that's possible. Number one is, I'm going to be asking you a ton of questions every time we look at homes, every time you pull up one that you like, every time we go and look at a home. So every time I get your feedback, I'm going to be curtailing that data and making it more and more specific to you, and looking for homes that literally fit exactly what you've said, or that could work for what you've said. Now, the other thing is, how long have you been looking online at homes for sale, right? By the way, guys, before they get to you, they've been on all of the websites, right? They may have been on your website. They may have been on Zillow or Trulia or whatever. They have been all over the place. So on average, how many homes do you think you've actually clicked on and looked at the pictures? Probably hundreds, right? So just to reassure you guys, nobody else will probably tell you this, but you are starting to actually become an expert in the real estate market. Your gut tells you when you know that the house is right for you. Not because you're some expert that buys and sells hundreds of homes all the time, but because you've been looking long enough that your gut is starting to tell you the right answer. So if we walk through a house and you say, I think this might be the one, let's put pen to paper. We can always back out during due diligence if something is wrong, or you get cold feet or whatever. But if you start to get that feeling that this is the one, please, please, please do not sleep on that decision, because if you sleep on it, you might not be able to sleep in it. Got it? All right. So that's like one of my favorite things to talk about, because that sets you up for showings. Yes, that's part of the buyer consult. However, what it does is it sets you up to not be running over all of God's green earth all the time. Okay. There's another thing to think about. When showing houses, people tend to go, well, I get off work at 5, so I can look anytime after 5:30, 6 o'clock. Okay. Well, it just happens to be that this time of year, as we're starting to talk, as you see, I'm wearing a sweater. It's about to start getting dark at like 6:30 pretty soon. All right. That sucks, to go see houses and it's, dark outside. You can't see the outside. They're going to have to come for a second trip. It adds work for you. It keeps you from being able to write solid offers. It mucks up your entire transaction. So there's a couple of things I want you to add to your buyer presentation. And I know I'm backing up into a buyer presentation to talk to you about showings, but this is important. It's going to set you and your client up for success. So what I advise that you talk about is let's talk about how we're going to schedule the showings and when those showings are going to take place. Whenever I don't even ask them their opinion. I say, whenever you need to go to like a doctor's appointment, orthodontist appointment, etc., how does your work normally handle that? And I just shut up. Okay. So if you normally would come in late or leave a little bit early or take a long lunch and make it up the next day or get somebody to cover your shift, whatever that strategy is, that's the strategy that we're going to use here. I know that naturally you might feel like buying a house is a little bit of a selfish process, and it's not an emergency, it's not a doctor's appointment. However, you actually spend more buying a house than you do at the doctor's office. Okay? This is a major purchase for you. It's a major decision point. And if we end up showing homes only in the evening and only on weekends, what time do you think the sellers are generally home and trying to enjoy their time with their families? Same time as you, evenings and weekends. So it actually benefits us to look at this home, any home, during the day and during the week while the seller is at work, because A, it inconveniences them the least, and B, that puts you in a really good emotional position for whenever they want to review your offer. This is not just a numbers business. This is an emotions business. So we have to convince that seller to accept your offer, and you may be up against other offers. I've been the seller before that had to take 2 kids, 2 dogs, clean up the house, and get out right around dinner time. And then I've been that seller who was there circling the neighborhood when they were an hour late and sat in the car with my kid as I circled and circled and circled as they liked the house. So they spent an hour and a half in there. But I'll tell you what, I was mad by the end of the night, right? Had a sour taste in my mouth because not only were they late, but they loved the house and they took forever, which is all stuff I should be really grateful for, right? But I'm the seller and I'm sitting in the car and I'm just getting irritable with my kids. It is the same exact thing for every single seller. So we want to go in with a great, strong, emotional precedent, right? And so if we can go look at these homes during the day, it's going to help you in your negotiation 100%. If you struggle to get off during the day, the wonderful thing about technology is if you'll let me know when your lunch breaks are, I can go to the houses and we can FaceTime our way through them. And then we can always come back for a second look once we're under contract. So there's lots of solutions to make this work for you. Okay. And then I just let it go. I love to tell stories in buyer consults because it's not just about, hey, this is why we're going to do this and here's the benefit. I really lay it on thick with a couple of extra stories because it really puts them in a position of, okay, if these people have like dogs and kids and stuff like that, I want to make sure that I'm not trying to look at their house at 8:00 at night and they're like trying to wind down. That's normally the time I'm trying to wind down, right? You still won't avoid it all the time. Sometimes you guys will still get this house came on the market at 7:00. Is there any way that we can go and see it at 8 because I don't want to go up against multiple offers tomorrow? And the answer is just going to be, well, yeah, we'll figure it out, right? We'll get over there and we'll get you in the house. But these tactics in your buyer consult are going to help you tremendously. So let's talk about showings. Have either one of you ever gotten a list of like 12 or more houses somebody wants to see? Have either of you ever gone and seen 12 houses in a day? Kaylee, you've had your license for a long time. So
I was told to only show 5 at a time.
Say that again. Sorry, it was just me on my end.
To only show like 5 or 6 at a time because after that, all the houses run together.
They do.
So that was my.
They do. 5 or 6, guys. That is about the most that you can handle. So, and mentally, I'm not talking about like physically. You could probably see 20 some odd houses in a day, with the hours scheduled. but nobody remembers what they saw at that point. And it's a total waste of time because they can weed out some of those houses. And so if somebody presents me with a list and they say, I want to see on these houses, and there's 12, first of all, half of them might be off the market. So don't say anything right off the bat. Ask them to rank them. Hey, as I'm scheduling these, will you rank these in order of your favorite for me? Ranking is a huge tool for you guys. When you say that you're going to ask them for feedback, ranking is like your number one best friend. So if they rank them and then, half of them are under contract, okay, well, we're not going to go see those because I'm not going to break my client's heart, right? So we're just not going to go see those. Now we're down to 6. If there's one on there that you go, why the hell did you pick this one? This one doesn't make any sense. Ask them, talk to them. Hey, I've requested this showing, but curious, this doesn't fit your criteria. Talk to me. What made you pick this one? It's outside of the area. It's a different price point. It doesn't have the thing that you said was absolutely non-negotiable. Talk to me. What did you see in this? And just listen to what they say. Because ultimately, if they're wanting to see 12 to 15 homes, and if all those homes are available, we're going to have a come to Brittany meeting, right? We're going to have a little sit down. I'm going to pick up the phone. Hey, do you have a minute to talk? And I'm going to do this over the phone. I'm going to say, hey, listen, I see like 15 homes on here. It looks like all of them are available as of this moment. I typically recommend that we only see your top 5 or 6 in one day, because honestly, we only need one house for it to be the perfect house. So if there's a top 5 or 6 on here that you really love, let's go spend our time seeing those, because the other ones are just going to overwhelm you, and it's going to create more details and more panic chaos in the decision-making process. So walk me through, which of these are your favorite 5 or 6 or whatever. And I'm okay if they give me 6 and we only see 3, because quite frankly, we only need one. We just need one house that makes this work. And reassuring them. People are afraid to make a bad decision, especially with a big investment. And so that might be that moment where they challenge you on that and said, well, I just don't want to miss out on something at, blah, 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 blah. I totally understand. And remember what I said in that buyer consult, you've been looking at hundreds of homes. Why would you want to waste your Saturday or your Wednesday or your lunch break or your whatever going through and looking at homes that are not a match for you? I would much rather wait for the right one or go look for the right one rather than spend half a day or a whole day looking at 10 that that you don't want to buy. Let's pick and then you've got to finish that up with a command, right? Let's pick the top 5 or 6 for tomorrow and let's go see them. The rest they're just second picks. They're not even what's right for you. Now, everything goes under contract. You might have to change your tune a little bit, right? So, hey, those 5 went under contract really fast. So it looks like we're either in the second picks or we are waiting for the next round of listings to come on the market this week. Which do you prefer? Do you want to say screw all those, they weren't that great anyway, or do you want to go see them? A little bit different approach, but either way, we want to get them down to 5 or 6 in one day period. Another thing that if they're at work a lot, another thing that you can do is tour homes for them. That puts it on your schedule and not theirs, right? You can go and tour homes. You just tell the agent, I would like to preview this home for my client. They're at work during the day and they want me to see if it has a couple of the things that they're looking for. I'd like to schedule an appointment, blah, blah, blah. It's not a showing. You're not bringing the client, but you're previewing it for your client. All the same type of scheduling. So, I'm going to teach you guys a couple of tricks for showing homes that have really helped me. Number 1, I print out all the MLSs of the ones that we are, the MLS sheet from everything that we're going to see. I print them out. I generally only make the one copy because I'm going to give it to them. I don't need it at the end of the day. I print them all out. I use Google Maps. If you go onto Google Maps, I do this before I even try to schedule the showings. I go in there and you can do directions from blank to blank. Start with 2 of your addresses, directions from this house to this house. And then when you're on there, there's a little button that says add another address or add another location. You can add all, if you made the mistake of doing 10 showings, we've all made the mistake, or we've had that person that just absolutely needs to and wants to, and we were like, okay, so we're going to see 10 homes today. So you can plug all 10 of those in. The cool thing about Google Maps is at that point, it's showing it up on the map and it's showing it up in the list, and you can drag your addresses around and change the order without having to retype. So you can actually map out a perfect showing schedule without having to like go back and forth and figure out all of your routes and everything. You can look at it and say like, well, no, that looks like it has me turning around the other way. And you can physically drag the point or just move the address in the list format. It's one of the best tools for scheduling showings. I've been using it for years. Then you have your order. I take my MLS sheets and I put them in that order. And then I say, okay, start time. I go ahead and write on my MLS sheet. Let's say we're starting at 9 o'clock. I give myself, generally, if they're all really close, I do them in 30-minute increments. So I would say a 9:30 or 9 to 9:30 showing, or 9 to 10, right? I would say we're going to be there between 9 to 10. Well, the next one, I'm going to tell them I'm going to be there between 9:30 to 10:30. And then the next one, I'm going to say 10 to 10:30. It buys me an entire hour of being in those homes, or being late because they really liked the last one and they stayed really long, etc. So I do an hour long, but I move the increments by 30 minutes. The caveat to this is if you look at this and you realize that 3 of your homes were really close together, do that. And then if there's one that it looks like it's going to take you 20 or 30 minutes to get to the next one, give yourself an hour-long break between them. Also pay attention to, if it's going to be a long day, pay attention to whether you're going to need snacks and water and pit stops. You might want to bring snacks and water, but you may need to plan for pit stops. If you have a really long day and you're covering a lot of ground, plan for lunch. Go to lunch with them. They're going to be hungry. Somebody's going to have to pee. May as well stop in the middle, talk about what you saw the first half, and then move on. Okay? Plan for it. You think about it. Grab granola bars, grab apples and bananas, that kind of thing. Throw them in your car if you know it's going to be a long time. If you're going to see 2 or 3 houses and it's in the morning or in the afternoon, bring some water bottles, keep them in your car, but I wouldn't be worried about snacks. If somebody said, I have all day Saturday and I'm going to find a house that day, so let's spend all day Saturday together, plan on your breaks and bring yourself some snacks and waters and things like that. Okay? All right. So on my MLS sheets, going back, I've got the times that I've proposed on there. I follow the instructions in the MLS, and I'm asking each agent to confirm. When they confirm, I write on the top, confirmed. If I've left a message, I put LM. I'm used to that from old veterinary days where I would just write LM, like left message. I put my little note, hey, you did call and request, but maybe they haven't gotten back to you. This is like all my notes and my organization for that day. I let the client know I'm working on scheduling everything. I'm going to plan on seeing you on whatever day that was at 9 a.m. Stay tuned, and I'll let you know which house we're seeing first. I'm working on scheduling all of the showings. Okay? And then once you have it all, then tell them. And you can tell them the order and if anybody fell off or whatever. And if anybody does fall off and you think you're going to be a little bit early, definitely communicate that to the listing agent. Hopefully you have their text message, cell phone numbers and things like that at that point. But if you're going to be early, sometimes people wait until the last minute to leave because they knew what time you were planning on being there. And it definitely helps if you can communicate ahead of time. Scheduling showings, I'm going to tell you, follow the instructions, put this in air quotes, follow the instructions that are in the MLS. And it's not going to hurt for you to follow up with multiple versions of communication. So every listing, if I see their cell phone number there, I'm going to call it, leave a message. I'm going to send them a text message and say, you don't have to call me back, but this is the schedule. This is the showing I'm trying to schedule. Please let me know if this time will work, blah, blah, blah. If they've asked for showing time, schedule it in showing time, and then maybe follow up with an email. And try to keep it to where it's your due diligence to get these scheduled. Okay. Ask them if they have any offers. Once you've got it scheduled, try to get any information that you can before you get started. Now, on the day of showing, if I've done my buyer consult, they're pre-approved, everything, I'm meeting them at the property. I don't put people in my car unless they're family. That's a liability I just don't really want to take. So I'm going to meet them there. We're to drive separately, and they can follow. They can use the GPS. We can give them all the addresses. It's etc. Let me turn this off. It's dinging in my ear. Sorry, I'm trying to turn off Facebook from binging at me when it has a notification. And then, so I'm not putting them in my car, and of course, drive carefully and smart because they're following you and watching you, and all of the above. And then at the end of the day, you can go both your separate ways, and you don't have to worry about meeting up anywhere. The other thing that I would like for you to think about, and it just skipped my brain because that darn noise popped up. Good grief. Whoever is messaging in Slack today is overzealous. You're out at showings. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. So the MLS sheets. Every time we walk into a house, I'm holding the whole stack of MLS sheets with me. They're in order of what showings we're going into, so that when they ask questions, I can answer them. It's to the best of my ability, or I can say, I can check, and I can write that note either on the front if there's room, or on the back if there's room, right? We'll check on that. We'll check on that. We'll check on that. We'll check on that. If they're falling in love with the house, you might stop and call the listing agent right there. If you see them placing furniture and they're like, well, we could put the couch over here, Susie's room could be this room, maybe you start texting the agent the questions that you're coming up with, okay? The other thing that I do that I forgot to mention is that I always have that buyer package, like a couple of those in my car with me. And those buyer packages include like all the buyer details, our booklet that we have, which by the way, we are reordering some because we had to edit a bunch of stuff in them. And it usually has a blank buyer brokerage, and it has an offer package. So if you're in the house, they're falling in love with it, there's no reason not to run to your car, get an offer package out of it, and then sit down at that kitchen table and write an offer. I mean, like there should be nothing that holds you back from that. Unless they want to ask for complicated stuff, then say, let me get most of this written here. You sign it. That way we've got it. And then I can go back to the office and I can get the wording for whatever it is that you want extra in there. And then I can add that, show it to you for approval, and then I can send it on. That way we're not wasting any time. So I always have blank offers in the car. A blank offer with a couple of different contingencies with it, like appraisal, financing, whatever things that normally would get put on your offers. Just have a couple of blank ones in the car. So whenever we walk into the house, and I almost forget about it until I'm about to open the door, and I'm walking in, and we open the door, and I say, listen, before we go in, I am going to be asking you to buy every single one of these houses today. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that because I don't want it to feel awkward after we're walking out and you keep wondering why I keep asking you. What I'm going to be asking you for, though, is I may be asking you what would it take for you to buy this house, but what I'm really getting is your feedback. And like I've told you before, if you love this house and it satisfies most of your criteria, or the criteria that it could satisfy is really easily fixable, then we need to write an offer, because you've seen what's happening in this market. And I want to make sure that you guys are taken care of. So please don't be offended if I ask you. I'm also going to be asking you to rate the home. Okay. Then we go in, we tour. We talked a little bit about safety on Monday. We've done a couple of calls on safety, making sure that you are walking behind them, let them walk ahead. I mean, if they're your friends, I don't care, but lock the front door behind you. You want to make sure that you're locking it behind you. You also, if you turn it on, you need to turn it off. If it was unlocked, leave it unlocked. If it was locked and you unlocked it, lock it back, right? You should probably be doing one last final sweep right as they're conglomerating towards the front of the house. Hang on, guys. I'm going to take one big sweep real quick. I'm going to make sure that we turned everything off and left it how it was to respect the sellers. I'll be right back. If you want, I can meet you out at the car. Right? Take a sweep. Make sure, windows are closed, doors are closed. If they were locked, they're locked back, lights are off, that kind of thing. Sometimes sellers will leave blinds open and turn lights on and things like that for you. Go ahead and turn them off. They probably turned them on for your showing. So unless they've asked you to leave them on, then I would turn them off as a courtesy. Another thing that's old school that they really love to see is for you to drop a business card on the counter. Either the counter or the table. Take your business cards with you. It shows the seller as a courtesy that you showed up to your appointment, right? They did, in fact, have somebody in their house. It was, in fact, a professional. They left their card. It is not you marketing to their client. So if you get like a new agent saying that, go, no, that's old school courtesy. It's just to make sure that the seller knew that we did actually come and show the property. It's not marketing in any shape, form, or fashion. So old school agents do that all the time. Sometimes the new agents don't really understand what that's for, but it's really a courtesy, because otherwise a seller has no idea if you came or not. The agent might have to tell them if the super box showed access or not, or have to rely on like cameras or something. All right, so say we finish the tour and we finish up, we get out to the driveway, we're standing over the car hoods, and I say, okay, on a scale from 0 to 10, where do you rank this house? On a scale of, I want to write an offer. This is something you want to write down. If it's between 8 and 10, you probably need to be figuring out what's holding them back from writing the offer, because it's probably negotiable. Examples would be, it's an 8. Really? Okay, so what makes it an 8 and not a 10? I would ask that question, and they go, well, that backyard is kind of messy and it really needs to be cleaned up. So if we got the backyard cleaned up, it would be a 10, and you'd want to write an offer? Awesome. That becomes your special stipulation. Make sense? Let's buy this house except for blank. Hey, Mr. Seller, we left the house, but we need you to get the backyard cleaned up in such a way. Okay? If they say anything 6 or below, I would actually just draw a big giant X through the middle of the listing, fold it in half, and put it at the back of the pile and say, okay, so that one's out. If it's a 6, 7, 8, you need to be asking for feedback. If they say 8 or above, they probably are ready to write an offer, but they might have doubts and want to see the next house before they make a decision. So just watch that. Then at the end of the day, if you've done that on every single house, you can hand them those papers and be like, I'm throwing away the ones we did X's on, because I'm not wasting your energy with all that confusion. You need just the ones that you liked or loved. Here's the 3 out of 6 that you liked. You rated this one the best, this one the next best, this one the next best. So here, what do you want to do? Okay. Now, What questions do you have about that?
I think I would ask, like, those, especially first time buyers that are like, well, I just want to see what else is out there. What else can come? Like, I want to write an offer, but I still want to see what else is coming on.
Mm-hmm. How would you handle that now?
Um, I would go back to what you said. If you're going to wait on this, like what you're waiting on, other people have already seen and they're offering on. So if you're comfortable walking away and possibly missing out on this house, that's fine. We'll keep looking, but you need to understand with this market, putting an offer in ASAP is what's important.
So another thing that you guys in this market, this might shift when and if things shift, because they always do. They're always fluid and shifting and changing, and our scripts have to change just a little bit depending on what's going on. Right now, somewhere in your buyer consult, you need to be talking to them about how many offers are coming in, how fast homes are going, and how it might actually be better for them as a buyer. They may actually get a better deal if they will put on something we call vision goggles, which means instead of looking for their A plus home, which if it exists, then 17 other people also think it's their A plus home. And 5 of those 17 people have a grandparent that has the cash to pay for it and close it in 12 minutes and knock everybody else out of the running. So instead of looking for their A plus, it might be a smarter decision for them to look for their B minuses that have the potential to get them where they want to go. This is something that I would advise that you guys talk to them about, like the construction loans that are available through Jenna and through many other lenders that we partner with, where they can go in and take a house and make it what they want. So I would ask that you guys get really creative with them and have the conversation of, you're probably not going to get all of the things that you've asked for. If you do, we are going to dance from here to Timbuktu, right? I'm going to work on it. We're going to try, but getting your perfect house is quite challenging without the cash to pay for it in this market. So what I'm asking of you is decide what are the things that you absolutely cannot live without. And let's not just open up our A list. Let's look at the B list. Let's look at the homes that are priced a little bit under that, or are different than that, or older than that, or not updated, or whatever, that maybe we can come up with a plan to get that to be your perfect home. Because that is how you win in a market like this, is you get the low interest rate and you got the home that needed some elbow grease. And all of a sudden now you have this diamond in the rough that everybody wants. Well, it took a little bit of work. So let's incorporate that into the conversations, especially if you're halfway through, you've been showing them property for a while and you're just getting frustrated. You can have a come to Allie meeting. You can have a come to Kaylee meeting where you sit down and you go, can we hit the reset button? Can we do a phone call tonight where we can kind of reestablish what's changed since you guys have started, and if anything that you want has changed, and I can update you as to what's going on in the market and how we can help you guys win. There's no reason that you can't have 2 or 3 buyer consults with them, because it shows that you care. It shows that you're really trying to help them hit their goals. So somebody who says, I really love this house, but I want to go see others, I would just gently remind them, listen, if you don't love this house enough to write an offer, I'm not going to pressure you, right? Like, it's okay with me if you don't like it. However, like I told you in the buyer consult, you've been looking at hundreds of homes online. If something in your gut is telling you that this one will work for you, this one is one of the ones, or the one, or whatever, we need to put pen to paper. You can always search Zillow and my website and stuff like that later tonight if you want to, and we can always back out during due diligence. But what I would hate to happen is you go and you look at 20 other homes and then come back and realize that this was the very best one, and you missed out on it because you took too long and somebody else saw it. I never, ever, ever put pressure on them. I give them the facts. I give them best case and worst case scenario. It is going to be up to them to make their decisions. You cannot make somebody buy a house. You don't ever want to try to make them buy a house. You know what it feels like to go buy a car and feel pressured into buying a car. That's not your job. But you can present the facts and present them with both scenarios, then let them make the decision. If it's always their decision too, they can't blame you. At the end of the day, you gave them the information, they know you did, and they chose not to write an offer. But that's also, I'm a really, really big advocate of, say your piece, say it. Don't just take what they say and go, okay, that's what they want. They don't like this house. Say the words. Listen, we've talked about what's going on in this market. I'm never going to try to pressure you into buying a home that you don't want. And if this isn't the right one, I completely understand. However, if you're just afraid that you might be making the wrong choice, or that there might be something better that shows up tomorrow, I just want to reassure you, you've been online looking at hundreds of homes for months. Your gut's telling you the right thing to do. Why don't you think about it for an hour or two and call me back? Not overnight, an hour or two. Okay? Things like that. I want you guys to say these things, because otherwise what happens is it kicks you in the butt later. If you don't open your mouth and you go, man, I wish they would just put in an offer. They never put in an offer, and you sit back too long, you may be working with them for 12 years because they're too indecisive. All right. Anything else about showings? I am pulling up. I had a list of things that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Some little tips. We will go over more of these in detail, but there's a couple of major things that I want you guys to know about writing offers. So we would grab your pen and paper and write these things down. So number one, first and foremost, know what your office is going to need as far as paperwork goes. I would advise that you take some time and you save those documents each year, because they update them once or twice a year. And I would you're probably going to have some FHA buyers, some USDA buyers, some conventional loan buyers, and some cash buyers. We don't do a ton of condos, but they do come up. So if you want to, have like a regular residential, regular condo, whatever. And I would tell you to go ahead and fill those out on whatever service that you use. I really love Georgia MLS's transaction desk because it can pull your data and go ahead and plug in some of that information for you and get it to where it plugs in everything that's always the same, like the broker information and different selections that you're always going to select on those. And save them as, like, if you have your documents, say it's a conventional one, it might be a purchase and sale agreement, a conventional loan exhibit, and the attorney holding earnest money. That should be really all that's on there. And you would get those filled out as much as you possibly could, not knowing who the client is or the property or anything like that. And you would download that as one PDF, and you would save that as enter the year 2020 conventional loan blank package, whatever. Save that in Dropbox. The reason I tell you guys to go back and do systems like this is it allows you, when the time is right and you are trying to write an offer, you can literally have a blank contract there so fast that you can just pull it, print it, fill it out, go. You don't have to worry about slowing down to find the documents. Do I have the documents? Do I not have? Do that when you're not under pressure. Have them in a folder in your Dropbox that says blank offers, and then just grab them. You already know when you go out that you're working with somebody who's planning on doing USDA. So just print one of those out, throw it in your car, make sure you have it, right? It's a blank USDA offer. If they like a house today, I've got a blank offer package. took you 0 prep time except for waiting for the printer to warm up. Okay. So know what your office needs of you. Go ahead and prep folders, making sure that you have that stuff, and have it available to you. It allows you to move faster when you're under the gun. You're excited, the emotion's high, there might be multiple offers needed, etc. It allows you to move a little bit faster without having the panic overwhelm you. A couple of other policies that you should know about our team is we really attempt to not write special stipulations on our own. I want you in Georgia MLS transaction desk there, when you're pulling up forms, there is a special stipulations written by GAR. You just write special stipulations, and there's a like 2020, and every year that you're ever going to have, it's going to have special stipulations written out. Your things like home warranties and surveys and all kinds of stuff, termite inspections, anything that you want extra in your contract is already pre-written that you can literally just copy and paste. I don't want you writing a stipulation. And if you come to me and say, we need to write something special, I'm going to help you draft it to the best of your ability, my ability. And then I'm going to tell you most of the time to verify it with our broker. Say, here's what I would write, but go ahead and type that up in an email, send it over to, right now that's Henry. He's been our broker for a while. I will tell you to email it to him and confirm with him that he likes the language, because he's the broker for the office. He also has quite a bit of experience of seeing stuff go to court or get resolved afterwards. So he's a really, really great person to lean on for that. So I would prefer you're not writing special stipulations. Just, hey, we want home warranty. No, like there's a full special stipulation that says like who, what, when, where, why, who's paying for it, who's ordering it, blah, 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 blah. All that good stuff. I'm looking through my notes here. Whenever you are about to write an offer, go into the MLS and check for disclosures and things like that being uploaded in the MLS before annoying the listing agent. Again, the listing agent's opinion of you also matters in writing offers. So if they're like our team and they make sure to upload that stuff, and you come in asking for, hey, I'm driving home from the listing, will you send me, we saw it and they love it, can you send me the property disclosure? They're going to be like, it's in the MLS. Don't be lazy. Okay. So if they've already gone through that, they're going to want you to pull it from there. If not, if it's not in there, then go ahead and ask for it. There's not a problem, but just look before you ask. And it's okay to send the offer without having the disclosures first. So you can send over an offer, then look for the disclosures and or ask for it, and get those and review them in that first 24 hours of due diligence and decide, like, do we actually want to keep this going, or did we find out that actually it's on an Indian burial hill or something? I don't know. Never seen that, but I have seen a lot. I would advise that you guys also take contracts classes. When you write an offer, there should be no blanks left. None. If it says like select A, B, or C, and you clearly selected B and filled in the blank there, it's okay if A and C are empty. That's okay. But what you don't want is to leave something blank on a contract. Because if you do, even if it's like, well, we haven't decided yet, freaking decide. Call me. Ask me what needs to go in there. We'll figure something out. It'd be a very rare case that I would say just submit it without it. Like 1 in 1,000 that I would say that. Otherwise, I'd say just write blah, blah, blah in there. And let's put that as a placeholder. We can always amend it later. NA, N/A, not applicable, is common to see in a blank. That's fine. This is not applicable, so it's NA. But what you don't want is for somebody later to go in and fill something in on that contract and type it in because you and your client didn't select it. So fill in every blank. That's protecting your client, and using the GAR forms, which we already do. Let's see. When you send in an offer, send in your proof of funds or pre-approval letter. The acceptable proof of funds would be a letter from their banker saying that they have sufficient liquid funds, or the front page of a bank statement, screenshot from a bank account. Have them black out, or you black out the personal stuff, like the account number and their address. But if, you know, Brittany Purcell is writing an offer and Brittany Purcell logs in, takes a screenshot, and just like marks out like the account number or whatever, and it should, like, I'd say I needed $100,000 to buy this, and it shows $100,000 balance, that's fine. But if they don't want somebody to see their balances, maybe they have millions, maybe they don't, maybe whatever, then a letter from their banker is perfect. Just saying, yes, this person is a client or customer, and they have sufficient funds to make such said purchase. Totally fine. Pre-approval letter, that's just what Jenna and all of them write for you. It's easy peasy. Send it in one PDF. If you need help editing PDFs and understanding how to combine all this, please talk to me. Regardless, if you end up sending it in DocuSign and they DocuSign the document, you can either download those as individual documents or all as one. So DocuSign will help you with that PDF editing. If you have a Mac, which I have, I can show you very easily how to combine those. Or like the oldest school way, if you're not going to edit on the computer, you can print all the stuff and then like scan it in as one PDF at the office, right? So like if you're just like, F technology today, nothing's working, then just print the shit out and scan it in. It's going to be fine, right? There's lots of options. But the biggest, fastest way to annoy the hell out of a listing agent is to send them like a bunch of JPEGs or individual PDFs. I mean, it's not bad if it's like, here's the conventional financing and here's the purchase and sale. Where it becomes irritating, like really bad, is when somebody is like in a rush to get you the offer and like takes pictures of it and sends it to you. Go to the office and scan it. You know, use Genius Scan on your phone. There's a bunch of free scanning apps that you could like take the pictures and it would like look like a scan and put it all in one PDF. Just do something other than individual PDFs. And I say this because you want to be in the good graces of this listing agent. You want your offer to be complete. Fill in their name and their broker information. Make it so easy for them that all they have to do is sign. Right? Let's see. Something that we see come up a lot, personal items or appliances. If it's not part of the real estate, it goes on a bill of sale. Even if that bill of sale, by the way, there's a GAR document for bill of sale. You just have to search bill of sale. But if you see the disclosure and it says, we're leaving all of the kitchen appliances except for the refrigerator, and you want them to leave the refrigerator, then your offer will have that purchase and sale, conventional financing, the attorney holding earnest money, and then the very last thing would be bill of sale, plus disclosures and all this other stuff. But the bill of sale will say, Whirlpool stainless steel refrigerator present at original showing, price $0. If it's a personal item and it's not attached to the house, it goes on a bill of sale. Okay? Appliances come up a lot in that. The lenders do not like financing appliances and personal items. Furniture, you ever go to represent somebody and they're buying a house furnished? We need to be specific about what's being done, right? Like here, this so-called furniture, but it's going to be on a bill of sale. If you run out of space, do multiple bills of sale. It's going to be fine. But It's a bill of sale, and if it's being included with the house, you're actually doing a bill of sale and $0. And that is just because the lenders don't want to lend for 30 years at a fixed rate on furniture. They want to lend for real estate, not personal items. And I think the most important thing that I say on offers is when you send one, it is absolutely your responsibility to confirm that it's been received. It is not the other agent's responsibility. All of us have had an email go to spam. All of us have had an email just not show up in general and go to the wrong place. All of us have mistakenly missed something. And there have been times where on the listing side, both I and Allison and other listing agents that we've had wrap things up on a multiple offer situation. And then like 3 days later, an agent goes, hey, just checking for feedback. Are we like in the running? Has your seller made a decision? And we're going, who are you? We don't have an offer from you. Okay. So, sometimes we find it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes they sent it to the wrong place. They mistyped the email address. Sometimes it went to spam. We just didn't see it. Sometimes we went to multiple offers and we didn't have them on our list to respond back. Your responsibility to make sure that they received it. So what that looks like is I'm about to send you an offer. I'm using the email address in the MLS. Can you confirm that this is correct? In my email, the subject line is offer 1234 Main Street. Please confirm receipt. First line of the email is please to reply to let me know that you've gotten this. Then I talk about the fact that it's an email. I want the first thing that they read over and over again to be, please confirm that you've received this. And it's not over till they either text you, call you, or email you and say, yes, I have it. Okay. Deadlines, always put deadlines in. That doesn't mean people are always going to follow the deadlines, but for your client, you should always have a timeline. 24 hours is generally enough for most people to make a decision. But depending on your offer and the situation, you might want to talk to me, and we might make it shorter. We might make it longer. We might do some other things. So I would say that an average is 24 hours. Julie has brought this up a lot on the team. Talk to the listing agent as you're writing the offer if you can. If they're non-responsive, get your offer in. If they will talk to you, ask them what's important, time or money. Do they need more time in the house, less time in the house? Do they need more netting more money, blah, blah, blah? Because I'm going to advise my client based on that. Hey guys, I heard that these people are really stressed out because they haven't found the next house. If you're willing to give them 60 days, either a 60-day closing or a 30-day closing and lease back for 60 days, I bet you win this offer, right? Changes how we present things. But if they say they don't care, they already moved out and they just want the most amount of money, all right, buyers, jack it up as high as you're willing to go and that you're willing to lose this house if somebody else beats you out. It's two very different conversations, right? And it's you getting the data to help them make an offer that wins. Always talk to your listing agent if you can. You will occasionally get a high performer that has too much volume and they're just not calling you back. Try text. I mean, really try everything you can. You got to remember that agent is not paying your bills. Your client is. You know, they've signed a contract for you to represent them. So it doesn't matter if you irritate the other agent, honestly, as long as you're representing your client and doing it well. I'm just looking. I had a couple more notes. A couple of people are having their clients write letters and attach those to the offers, especially in multiple offer situations. If you do that, like I said before, make that the first page of the offer in a PDF. Make it to where the seller is eventually, hopefully, going to see it. If you have questions about things, maybe on the financing contingency, what needs to go in, how much closing costs, etc., those are going to be lender questions. They can help you write your offers. And it might be smart before you go out and look and say, hey, they're looking at $200,000 houses. By the way, how much are their closing costs going to be? Because I'm going to try to get them paid for them. Can they go over that amount if we need to? Or are they maxed out at that amount? Because if they're maxed out at 200, then maybe we need to be looking at houses at 190 so that I can get some of their closing costs paid for them, right? So we might have to go over asking price. Lean on the lenders. And if you start to notice maybe they're using their own lender that we don't know or haven't approved, and you're struggling to get answers for certain things up front, time to talk to them about the fact that if this is a consistent behavior, we're going to have some trouble along the way. And you'd really advise that they get a second opinion just in case this doesn't work out with this other lender, because they can really put a damper on things. All right. I think I have covered everything that I wanted to cover as far as just the basics for those two things. What questions do you have about the offer writing process? I know that's not like we didn't write an offer together today. We didn't write any contingencies or anything like that. But just talking about some of the basics to make sure that are in there. Is there any questions that you have?
I just took Henry's contract class, and I was always taught to put the MLS number or tax ID, and he stressed doing the legal description. What do you prefer?
Legal description. And by the way, if you're struggling to find it, A, I've got some ways to pull it up. B, just email Tom, our closing attorney, and say, like, I'm writing an offer. Do you have a legal description for this? Can you help me find it? And of course, you should be putting his name as the closing attorney, right? Like, hopefully, he's going to be getting that business in the future anyway. And then if you have to, like, if you need to get that offer in, the legal description might be something that on the offer phase we leave out, but we put it in a special stipulation that legal description shall be provided to buyer, from seller within 48 hours of binding agreement or something like that. That would be the only exception. Then we're going to add it in, and everybody's going to initial afterwards. And it might just be that you need to get an offer in. That would be an example of something where I go, hey, this is not working. You might also find stuff where, like, the property hasn't been split, right? Where, somebody might be selling 15 acres that's a bigger part of a bigger tract, but at closing, we're getting a legal description. So there might be some things that need to be done that are different there. A legal description, if you can't find it before writing the offer, that's going to be one of the very few areas that I say, we'll put in the address and put in the MLS number, and then let's get it resolved within 48 hours. So let's put that in the special stipulation that we need a legal description or a proposed plat. So, like, if they say, well, we're going to cut this 15 acres off for you, okay, then I need the drawing and I need it within 48 hours so that I can add it to the contract and say, we're buying that piece right there. Okay. So just talk to me if that ever comes up. But yes, the tax ID doesn't really do anything for you legally. The legal description is what's actually being sold. And you guys have probably learned this in licensing, is that an address actually is not a legal description. It's just an address. So what other questions do you guys have? The cleaner you make your offers, the better you look on that listing agent. The better you communicate, the better you look. The more prepared you are, the more you communicate. This listing agent is asking themselves, I'm about to have to advise my client on accepting one of these offers. What am I looking at here? Some of them think that they're supposed to do the price only. it's really important that you present with your offer, maybe in the email, hey, just a few tidbits about our offer. Our buyer is not only pre-qualified, they are pre-approved. They have completely run all paperwork subject to finding a house and getting the appraisal. Okay. That's really important stuff to tell them. My buyer is as good as cash. But we've been working with this lender for 10 years or whatever many years it's been, and she's never failed us. We just want to reassure your client that this is a really strong offer. And if you need anything altered on this, please communicate with me. We'd be eager to make this work. Present the things that you think are important. Make sure that they know, because if they just think it's price, well, appraisal could bring price down, right? We ultimately want somebody to get to the closing table. And so you might need to get on the phone with that agent and say, hey, I just want you to know I'm sending you this offer. I put it in the email as well, because you don't want them getting confused because they got 16 offers, right? And I put it in the email. They're very eager. They're willing to do whatever it is that your sellers need to make this work. And just so you know, our lender has run them through and has a full pre-approval, pulling, bank statements and all of that good stuff. So all we need is a house. So I'm confident that this lender can get it closed. It will get it closed, pending inspection or whatever it is. I just want to make sure that you know that we're really confident in this buyer. They're not just dipping the toe kind of thing. Whatever it is that you feel like you need to present, say it. You're always selling. You're selling to the client. You're selling to the listing agent. You're selling to the seller. You are always, and then you have to do it again at negotiations, right? We did an inspection. Now we're having to convince you why to do the things that we need you to do. You're selling it again. You're not really fighting for things. You have to present things so that people want to say yes to them. And so when you're writing this offer, you're doing everything in your power to make it to where this agent just wants to go, listen, I talked to Kaylee, I talked to Allie, or I spoke to this agent. They called multiple times. Their buyer has missed out on a few houses. So I know they're really hungry. They're completely pre-approved. And they're willing to make a few other adjustments, like make our closing longer or whatever to make this work for you. I feel like this could be a really good offer for us. The good thing for you guys is we have a great reputation. That's because I teach people what I'm teaching you. And when people get an offer from an agent on Brittany Purcell's team, they automatically look on you with a positive light. We are not we're not bullies. We work together. We write clean offers. We have great contract to close. We have great lenders, high standards. So you're walking in with the best foot forward, just with the reputation. It's your job to continue to carry the torch and continue to do that. So it'll lift you up, and you can say you're on my team. There's only a few agents that I think there's really only one agent that would bother, but he still knows we closed the deal. Even though he doesn't love me, he still knows that we'll close the deal. We've actually done a few contracts with him this year. So like, you're walking in with the reputation of a team that gets the job done, communicates well, etc. Do that, and you're setting yourself up for success. Okay. Any other questions on showings or writing offers? All right, guys. You good for today? All right. Let's keep this rocking and rolling. On Wednesdays, we'll continue to roll out stuff like this. I'm going to download this one and upload it to YouTube on our unlisted stuff for trainees. So enjoy the open house stuff that I sent you, and time block those. Some of them are longer than others, so make sure that they're on your schedule.